Hey guys, so finally we are here doing the live stream. I There's only just one person. Okay, two of them. Hey Pankaj, hey Himanshu. Good morning. How are you guys doing? Nice. We'll wait for about 2-3 more minutes, and then we'll get started with the actual stuff that I have. So how are you guys doing on Sunday? Let me quickly do a test whether my voice is audible enough or not. Can you guys ping me on the comment if my voice is audible? Let me know if not. Good morning, Saurabh. Um, just quickly checking the live stream. It's a hot Sunday in Bangalore. Okay, looks like my voice is audible enough. Hey, Satya, thanks for confirmation. Good morning, Mayank. So, where are you guys from? Are you guys from Bangalore or outside? Cool. So, the thing is, I wanted to have a very good video and audio stream, but because this is my first video, I wasn't even sure if this is a good idea, so I didn't invest in the hardware like good camera or good microphone. I'm just using my laptop camera, so bear with me for the video if it is not very clear. So the moment I'll have 25 people watching me, I'll get started. Right now, I see there are 15 people online on this live stream. So, how many of you online right now are already working for a product-based company? Could you put that in the comment? Hi, Abhimanyu. Thanks, Navkant, for the confirmation. Okay, so I'll get started because I have more than 25 people now. Uh, Hi, everyone. So my name is Sunny Mishra. I am guessing most of you are coming from my LinkedIn profile to here. Thank you for following me. And yes, so the format of this live session would be such that I have a couple of items earmarked for discussion here, which is primarily around how to get into a product-based company, the interview process, and those details. And in the end, I'll also share a couple of tips around how to have a very good resume and how to get referrals for your whether it be the referral for your interview, for a full-time paid job, or referral for your internship. And so I have a couple of topics, about five or more. And after each topic, I'll take a couple of questions. And I'll take about 5 or 7 minutes for each topic and then pause for your questions, answer them, and then move on to the next topic. That is the format I'm going to go with. All right. So the first topic is service-based company versus product-based company. So the thing is, I have worked in both places. So I have worked in a couple of service-based companies and service-based projects, and I have also worked in product-based company and product-based projects. So I've seen both sides. In my mind, product-based company always wins in several categories, but service-based company has its own benefit. So it's subjective. Some people will always say go for product-based company because service-based companies suck. But I don't completely agree on that part. We'll look at that. Couple of points that I want to add. If you were to compare, because I am saying this, I'll have my own biases, so bear with me on that. Other people may agree or disagree. So, according to me, if you look at the points that are in favor of product-based companies, are such that generally, at least in Bangalore, I have noticed that product-based companies pay very good packages. Of course, there are limitations. There are certain companies which do not. Also, startups which may or may not pay higher salaries to you, given that you have lack of experiences and you don't have a competing offer. So yeah, that is the case. But in general, if you're comparing product-based company with the service-based companies, product-based companies definitely pay higher packages. Other stuffs that are in favor of product-based companies are such that you get exposure to cutting-edge technologies, and the quality of work is higher in a product-based company. Of course, you may say it's subjective, and I do agree to that, but in parts. Uh, because in services company, what happens is the client drives the project and the requirement, and at some times the client also drives the technology that you're going to use. That may be a very, very old project running for many years, and therefore you may not get exposure to good technology and the quality of work. Whereas in product-based companies, the company you're working for drives everything end to end. So they get to choose what you work on, which is a good advantage. Third point is the work-life balance. In my mind, because I have worked in more than about 10 to 11 projects across product-based and service-based companies, I have seen that the work-life balance is much better in product-based companies. There is one exception to that, the fact that the product-based companies focus more on delivery of the product to the end customer, which can be in case of B2C company, the end customer will be people like us, and in a B2B company, the end customer will be another company, another product company. Okay, so yeah, the work-life balance, in my personal experience, is much better for a product-based company. You guys are able to follow, right? Just post in the comment section if I'm going too fast or anything. Okay, moving on. Another thing that favors product-based company very well is the fact that they have flat hierarchies. I remember I once worked in a service-based company where I was a software engineer, then there was a lead engineer, then there was a manager, then there was a senior manager, then there was a delivery manager, then there was a manager for the whole engineering vertical, then there was a VP, then there was a senior VP, then there was, I mean, you get the point, right? There are levels of hierarchies. And the fact is, these level of hierarchies are only within your service-based company. Now, imagine because it's a service-based company and you're reporting to the client, clients have their own hierarchies. So now we are in a loop where you never get to make the decision. You are just bounded by the rule of the framework you're working in. Whereas in case of a product-based company, it's very very flat, the hierarchy. You're an engineer, then you have probably lead or maybe not if you're working in agile, and then you have the manager, and that's the end of the world. So especially if you're working in agile, so it's the self-contained team that you're working in. Everything that you work is within the team. All right. Other comparisons between service-based company and product-based company in my mind is that the growth in terms of promotion and the salary hike is very, very good in a product-based company. I'll give you my own personal example. In last 3 years, my salary has doubled versus when I joined. Whereas when I worked in service-based company, at the time of joining, if I am very pushy and I am very good in negotiating my salary at the time of joining with the HR, then maybe at the time of joining I get a very good package. But unfortunately, once you join there, then um, year on year your salary increment just slumps you. You're just a commodity in that company. So I don't want to say anything further. Next thing that favors product-based company again is in terms of perks. You have free food, you have facilities, you have free seminars, you have tech events that they ask you to go to free of cost, which is very, very good in my mind. Also, the health insurance cover in a product-based company is very, very good. So if you have ailing parents or you're not healthy yourselves, product-based companies really fare well in terms of health insurance packages that they offer. Also, the deliverables and the quality of work is what they care for in the product-based company. But in my mind, I've seen in the service-based company, they are very stringent about the swipe records. Like every time you go to work every day, you have to swipe your card there in the morning. You know what I'm saying if you're working in a service-based company, right? Just ping on comment if you have similar experiences. So it's very, very stringent. You have to complete those 9 hours or 10 hours or whatever because they check your swipe records. In fact, in my previous service-based company, I had this unfortunate event that I once forgot to swipe my card while coming out in the evening, and they the end of the month they actually deducted half day salary, saying that it was a loss of pay (LOP), and I was really pissed off for that. So I don't like that personally. It's like somebody's controlling me, my hours, because think about it. As a software engineer, you should care more about the work that you do. What time you're doing it may or may not be important, right? Like I am more creative early in the morning, maybe around 6 a.m. So I may do my work at 6, but why do somebody force me to be in office at a certain time between, say, 10 o'clock to p.m.? Why should that be? Um, yeah, right, Rehan. It's more like engineering call center, but you went too far with that. um, yeah, work from home has been. I actually, when I was working in Oracle, it was like 10 years ago. Sarthak, this is point added to you. That when I was working in Oracle, at that time it was more than 10 years ago. Laptops were not already much in use at that time in industry. So we had desktops, and the good thing about that was you just go home and you're done for the day. But and then yeah, that is fine. But the negative part was that for that was if you're working in a production intensive project where you're senior guy, so if something breaks in the production, you can't say I'm at home, so I won't help. So I had come to office on weekends and late in the night because I was supporting a product for Oracle for the EMEA region, and I had to come late in the evening to support that sometimes because I was a senior guy there, and because they didn't provide laptop 10 years ago then, but but So I used to think, okay, once I work in a company where I have laptop, I can just be online anytime I like. But now that we have laptops, unfortunately, the expectation is you should be online anytime, just in a moment's notice, right? So you're never off. You're always working. That's the sad part of giving laptops to you. And yeah, work from home is fine, but in my personal experience, I end up working more hours if I'm working from home. But if I work in office, I know this is the time I should leave, and I'll catch up later tomorrow. So yeah, there should be an end of the day, but when you're working from home, there is no end of the day. Anyway, moving on. I digressed. Sorry. Another thing is that favors product-based companies. The depth of knowledge is more because you work on the same product, and the product that may be in any domain. So, for example, in my previous company, I was working for e-commerce domain product. So, because I was working in that same product for about 2 years, I had very good grasp of e-commerce domain. So domain expertise is very important when you are going for a product-based company. For example, if you already have a prior experience in e-commerce domain and you're applying for, say, Amazon interview, you may get an advantage over another guy who has zero experience in e-commerce domain. I'm not saying that's the only criteria, but that's an advantage. Um, that's one thing, and so the depth of knowledge will be more. Unfortunately, the negative aspect about product-based company, due to the same point, is that the breadth of knowledge becomes less. So what happens is that you're working in the same product or the same domain for a long time. Your knowledge becomes stagnant after a while. So, for example, in one company I worked for, the product was more than 3 years old, and they were not ready to invest enough resource or money to upgrade that. So, because even though a person joined later in the project, the technology that they were using was very old. So that's a negative aspect of. Um, okay, thanks, Rihan, for highlighting that. Another negative aspect of product-based companies is that on-site opportunities are almost nil, almost zero, very less opportunity. And even if you get to go to on-site, it's only for some conferences or some discussions that may be happening for not more than a month. So, like for example, I went to the US. I just went for 2.5 months, and I had to come back. So, yeah, that's the thing. Other thing, there are a couple of things that I want to highlight about service-based company also, because I'm talking too much only about the product-based company. In service-based company, in my personal experiences, because the layer of hierarchies is too many, the chances of office politics increases a lot. Although I'm not saying politics in office is not there in product-based company, but because it's ultimately humans that drive the product. So that's the point. And because the client drives the requirement, which I've already covered, the technologies that you may or may not work is ultimately decided by somebody else and not your company sometimes. Another negative aspect of the service-based company is that you are just a head count. End of the day, there are too many people working, and they won't mind to fire you. Trust me, just keep that thing in your mind because they already have thousands of people sitting on bench. Just so you know, there's no concept of bench. At least in my personal experience in product-based companies. But in service-based company, what happens is in anticipation of getting a very big project from a client in US, they hire in advance lots and lots of engineers, and they just dump them or put them on the bench. And these people, they people like you and I, we get hired, and we are hoping that yeah, we are going to get very good product, because the HR at the time of hiring just pushes you, please join now, please join next week, don't delay for 3 months, join. And the moment you join, you're put on bench in the wait for the project to come, which may or may not come. So, and after 3 months or 2 months of paying you free salary, they may just dump you in any random project. That's the very, very negative aspect of service companies. Um, and yeah, definitely you should never join these service-based companies which do body shopping. Just so you know, body shopping is the concept in some service-based company where they hire you on their payroll and then they send you to another company to work. You understand that concept? You get hired for company X, but you don't work for company X. You work for company Y, and the company Y may actually put you into company Z. So I don't know what to call that. I just call it body shopping. All right. So these are mostly contract-based jobs. So if you don't have a job, you may be lured into joining those contract-based jobs, but don't buy that. It's just bad. Okay, moving on. So I'm done with first section, which is what are the pros and cons of product-based company and service-based company. My next point is what kind of job roles are available for you in any general product-based companies. Do you guys have any question till now for whatever I have covered? I'll just wait for a minute and then move on to the next point, which is what kind of job roles you should apply for in product-based companies. Come on, guys, post something on the live chat. Yeah, Sanjay. So your question is, what are you supposed to do while sitting on the bench? Okay, so I was once on bench, although I was just for 1 week on bench. What happens is on the bench, you are given very limited resources. For example, the laptop that you will get there won't have enough permissions. You can't even install any software you want, unfortunately. So all you get is probably the internet, and even internet is restricted on those laptops. And you don't get to work on any project while you are on bench. They expect you to do some training sessions, which they will definitely have going all the time. But apart from doing the training sessions, there is no expectation from you. You just come to office at 10 o'clock in the morning, swipe your card, go and sit anywhere you like and learn something. And end of the day, swipe your card and go back home. And you get salary at the end of the month. It sounds nice. I'm not working, but somebody's paying me. But trust me, it's very bad. It's like you are in a golden cage. You can't move. You can't do anything. Even the laptop you are given, you can't do anything on that. You can't install any software. You can't do anything apart from what they ask you to do, which is nothing. Just attend training. Very bad. Um, okay. Let me go through some comments. Yeah. Is it good to say no to service-based company? Sachin, I don't know. What do you mean by is it good to say no to service-based company? Because in real world, you may not have multiple offers going on, right? You may just have one offer. So given all the negativities in a service-based company, you may still go on and say yes because you need a job, right? So that's the harsh reality. So I don't know how better to answer your question. Although I would encourage you to be really, really good at programming and interview for product-based company. That way, you have the leverage to say no. For example, when I was leaving my previous company, I had 3 months of notice period there, and nobody will give you an interview call if you have 3 months of notice period. It's very rare, very difficult. So what I did, I just quit that company and I was preparing. So after half of my notice period was done. So now I'm left with just 1.5 months. I started getting actually calls from product-based companies. And then it was easy because I had prepared so well. I had prepared about 4 months for that. I was really, really prepared. So I had the liberty and the leverage to say no to a product-based company. Yeah, so to be in that state, you really need to be good in the preparation mode. Unless you do, you can't say no. You have to say yes to anything you can. I hope I answered that question. Rehan, what about R&D and service-based company? Sorry, I don't have much information about the R&D division. Although actually two of my friends, one of them worked in Infosys R&D division, and another one worked in another R&D division. I don't remember which one, but yeah. So you may do POCs, which is a good thing to get adept with newer technologies. The thing is, tell me this: what drives you more, working on a real product which you know somebody will use at the end of the day, or always working on POCs and experiments and never getting to see the real stuff out there? It's a choice. Whichever works for you, go for it. So, because again, Rihan, I don't really have much insight into the R&D division of service-based companies, so I won't answer or go beyond that. Okay. Um, Hitesh is asking, is it good for fresher to work in product-based company because skills and demand limit once enter in product? Actually, in parts, you're right, Hitesh. Skills and the demand limit actually get limited once you enter a particular product, but then you can always leave, right? Why should you restrict yourself to work for a company forever? Because in my mind, I always chase the passion to learn more and contribute back more, because learning is not end of the whole cycle, right? You have to contribute back. But after a point when you see that either your learning has stopped or you have stopped contributing back to the system, that is an indication that you have to move on. That's my personal thinking. You can disagree. Okay. Gaurav, can you give a rough plan of what should be done in the next 3 to 4 months? Okay, I'll cover that for the algo and DS points. I have them ready with me. I'll cover them. Are you mentioning TCS, Infosys, Accenture? Yeah, right, sure. They may have already. What else? Do we get to choose the projects in service-based company? Actually, you can apply for any projects in service-based company. They have internal interviews going on within, between one team to another team. You you have to qualify for that. Um, should we get trained in new technologies like machine learning, or is it thorough preparation? Okay, Ashwarya, actually, you need to understand that algo and DS is a totally separate thing, and machine learning is a totally separate domain altogether. So if you have ambition to go into data science stream, then machine learning is for you. If you primarily want to work as a software engineer like I do, then algo and DS is the way to go. Okay, guys, I have to move on because we are limited by time and I have too many points to cover. So I'll take next set of questions in comments after I cover the next point. Okay, so I'll go on. I want to wrap this up in 1 hour, but looks like it will go on for 1.5 hours, given that there are too many questions you guys have, and I want to answer all of them. Okay, so the next point, what kind of job roles to apply? Okay, so there are a couple of them. I want to cover the most important ones, so you may take a note and just keep in mind what works for you or what you would have already known. So the first one is the web development that product-based companies do. When I say web development, you essentially know what I'm saying, right? Building websites and anything related to internet. And the way to go for a web development is there are three ways, actually four of them. One of them, the most common these days, is a full stack developer. You get to hear this term, full stack developer. So what that means is uh, you need to know the front end, which is the UI, and the back end. Okay, so what do you mean by front end? Front end is the UI screen that you're seeing in front of you right now. That's the UI. So there would be a UI developer who would have built this screen that you're seeing right now. But for the screen to work, there needs data. That needs data, and the data is coming from backend. And there are lots and lots of processing and lots of logic and algorithm that works in the backend. So you have a backend engineer who is working on that. So I guess I try to oversimplify, but you get the point, right? Um, there's a front end developer and there is a back end developer. I'm a backend developer, by the way, and then there's a full stack developer who does both of them. So there are good chances for a full stack developer to get hired. But the problem with that is your knowledge needs to be very vast. You need to cover both worlds, right? The front end and the back end. What are the front end stuff that you need to learn? So generally the UI technologies, JavaScript based technologies for the front end, such as these days you keep hearing these cool terms like React, Vue, Angular. All of these are nothing but JavaScript based libraries and frameworks. You need to be good at those um, to apply for a front end job. Okay, what about backend then? So I primarily work in backend, although I have been a front end engineer before. I was working in Mindtree about 7 years ago. At that time, I was working as full stack engineer. So I was doing the front end, I was doing the back end. Also, I was doing the deployment because it was a very small team. All right. So what do you do? What do you need to learn for backend? So essentially, any of the programming language that you're comfortable with, you need to be really good at those. For example, the most famous ones these days are Java, Python, Node.js. Some people may say .NET, but I'm not very comfortable with .NET related topics, so we'll skip that. And once you learn any of these programming languages, you need to also know the middleware systems. Like you may have the messaging queue, you may have caching, you may have logging, you may have data movement libraries, you may have search caching, microservices. So all of these packaged together actually make you a good backend developer. Um, yeah, Hitesh is saying React.js plus Java Spring Boot. Yeah, so that's a good mix. The guy who knows React.js as a UI developer and Java Spring Boot as a backend developer actually makes him a full stack engineer. Yeah, 3D Kafka. Yeah, that's a good middleware. You use that for your messaging queue, Kafka. That's pretty famous these days. And one more web related job these days, very famous. You would have heard about this term. It's called DevOps. Very famous these days. So I won't cover in depth about what DevOps is. You need to look it up, or maybe I can have a separate session just about DevOps because it's so vast these days. Um, what happens is there's a concept called CI/CD, where you do continuous integration. What happens in a lot of services companies is that there are 3 months cycle, there are 5 months cycle of release. What that means is client gives you a requirement in bulk, and then all the engineers group together and build those features for 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, and only after rigorously testing them they push it to production server, and that is called the release cycle. So the release cycle can be every 3 months you are pushing to production, or every 5 months. Although in agile that's not a very good standard, but in the waterfall model people do that, and that is prevalent even now. Very unfortunate. Especially in banking sector, banking domain, you have those legacy systems, so they push to production very slow, meaning every 3 months or something like that. So here comes the DevOps. What DevOps does is it provides you the continuous integration. So think about this. You as a developer writing your code in your laptop, you need to push that code into a version control repository. GitHub is a good example. Perforce is another good example. GitLab, all those version control repositories. So your job as a as an engineer, as a developer gets done the moment your code moves from your laptop to the version control server, GitHub, for example. After that comes the build process. So what happens in build process is there are servers running which pick the code, source code that you just pushed into the version control repository and then builds it. And the binaries come out of that because when you start your, for example, Java runtime, that won't understand your .java file, the source code, the English stuff that you write, human readable. The runtime only understands the binary code. So these build systems actually convert your code into actual binaries, which is machine readable, and then puts it somewhere. And then the third part comes, which is there is a system that keeps running, which pulls that data, that binary from that server into the runtime and then respawns the runtime node. So that is when the server gets up and running. So it's basically three part: a developer writing code, pushing it into version control, GitHub, for example, then a build system picking it up from your the version control and pushing it, and then creating binaries out of it and putting it somewhere. And third part is the deployment part, which is picking those binaries and then pushing it into your production server. So there are different kinds of production server. If you're working in old Java based archaic systems, you have JBoss. These days people use Spring Boot a lot. It's very famous. And then for Node.js, it has its own embedded web server. Similarly, for Python, you might have heard Django. So these are the servers that you deploy to your binaries. So what DevOps does is it actually removes the human dependencies by a factor of multitude times, because the moment you have so many human interactions involved in these steps that I just told, right, there are chances of error and it's very slow process. So in DevOps, you make it faster by utilizing those DevOps tools. It's called the CI/CD tools. You have Jenkins, Puppet, Chef, but you have to ensure that your product is actually not monolithic code. So there's a term called monolithic and microservices. Again, it's a very, very vast topic, so I can't cover that right now. DevOps and microservices, I'll cover that separately. Okay, so as an engineer, you need to have your code written in microservices, but don't worry about that if you're not working in your company on any of those, but you can always learn them on the side. You need to also know those tools such as Docker, Kubernetes automation, and a very little bit of Linux. Okay, so that was for the web development. On the other side, you also have the mobile app development, right? The Android apps and the iPhone apps that we use. There is some developer out there who is building that, right? So yeah, so you need to learn Android, Swift, Objective-C if you're planning for iPhone app. That's very wealthy, meaning in terms of experience. Also, these days, people are not building native apps. You know the difference between native app, hybrid app, and these other binary creating frameworks, right? I can't touch base very deeply on that, but let me take a dig. So what happens is native app is the one which is built directly on the Android framework or the Swift framework that the iPhone guys give you. But if you take Ionic as a framework, Ionic is a hybrid technology. So you write your code in Ionic, Ionic will convert that into the binary. For Android, you have APK files, or for the iPhone, you have another set of binaries. So that's hybrid for you. These days, what's happening is people are also working on React Native and Flutter, and these frameworks actually allow you. Yeah, so it's like you build only once and you deploy in both Android and iPhone. But if you are a native developer, you can't build one and deploy in both. So you have to be an Android developer and write your entire project in Android, or you have to be an iPhone developer and write your code in you know. But yeah, so that's the negative part. But the positive part of being a native mobile app developer is that your product is very smooth. It's very fast, and the UI transition is very very smooth. People love native app in terms of experience of usage. And by the way, I believe LinkedIn app is a hybrid app. It's not a native app. Okay. What are the other fields that you can apply for in a product-based company? There is data science. Although I am personally not working in data science, I am a software engineer working in the application development mode, not in the data science. But I have a little bit of idea about data science, so I'll quickly cover that. What happens is there are primarily three fields, subfields inside data science. One is, of course, data scientist. So you need to know machine learning, AI algorithm, and those kind of stuff. In my current workplace, the data science team primarily is dominated by people from IIT and those premier engineering colleges. Um, so, because you need to be really good in the machine learning algorithms, and it's a totally different way of thinking. It's not how you do in our usual Java and Python world, right? It's totally different kind of mindset. So that's data scientist for you. You work on machine learning and stuff. Second subtype of data science is the data analyst. So data analyst is not same as data scientist. A lot of people don't know that because they have not worked on it. What happens is in data analyst job, you are mostly working on the big data world. So there's analysis involved on the data. And when the moment big data comes into picture, your normal tools will not work. So because we are talking about GBs of data, right? So you just can't work with normal stuff for big data, bigger data. So what kind of tools that data analysts use? The most common tool is MS Excel. Microsoft Excel is the most common tool for data analysts. Data analysts also need to know other tools such as Hadoop, Apache Spark, which is the latest one, which is very a buzz in the market right now. So those are the things required for data analyst. And the third subcategory is data engineer. Okay, so this is very different, right? You're thinking, I thought it's just data scientist. I learn some machine learning and I'm done. But no. So data scientist is different, data analyst is different, data engineer is different. So okay, what is data engineer? So now you realize, right, that we are talking about a guy came from a premier engineering college and is working in a product-based company as a data scientist. He created a machine learning algorithm, very good deep learning models. But he's done with his job there. His job is not to optimize that tool so that it takes millions of data hit and then return your data back. Uh, and that's not even the job for the data analyst to do. But in production, it has to be an engineer who will design the whole system so that it supports millions and millions of hits to this model running in production and then return the data back sufficiently so that it just works, right? Um, so that is the data engineer for you. Okay, what kind of stuff do you need to know for being a data engineer? Of course, the cloud technology like Amazon AWS, um, and also you need to be very very good in the backend architecture, like MapReduce frameworks and stuff like that. Those kind of things that you need to know to build scalable backend architecture in order to be a data engineer. Okay. And just so you don't get a wrong idea, I'm not saying you need to come from a premier engineering college in order to qualify for a data scientist role. You can come from any college, but you need to showcase your skills there in the interview. The last one for the jobs that are related to product-based company, of course, is a QA testing. So whatever I have explained above, the web development, full stack engineer, front-end engineer, back-end engineer, DevOps, mobile apps, mobile apps development engineer, and the data engineer, all these guys need to have separate QA tester. Okay. So apart from the development, you also need testing, right? So then you have the QA tester. Inside QA, you have two kinds of testing. Basically, one is the automation, and other is the manual testing. Of course, I am not very happy about the state of affairs of the manual testing because it's very redundant and manual intensive work. It's like you're using a human being to do work which should have been done by a machine. But then when a new code or a new feature comes to you, you cannot write the automation first. You need to first test it manually, do the sanity, and in the parallel, you can create an automation script so that next time when I have to test it, that this automation script test it for me. Okay. People use Selenium for UI automation, by the way. Of course, for the REST APIs testing automation, you can use any REST compliant client in your programming language. For example, if you're using Java as a programming language and you are a QA tester, you can always pick up any REST compliant client and then start writing your REST API automations. Okay, all right. So I'm done with this section about what kind of job roles to apply for in product-based company. The next topic that I'm going to pick right now is what things to learn to apply for product-based companies, meaning what skill set you need to have, really strong skill sets. Till now, do you have any questions for me? I'll wait for about 2-3 minutes and then move on with the next topic. How a fresher should apply. So what happens is, unfortunately, Anmol, what happens is in the top product-based companies, they hire from campus placement. So you are out of luck if your campus, your college doesn't have the placement going on. But then you can always apply offline. And the best way that works is get a referral from the engineers who are already working in that product-based company. I'll touch base on that point later in this session. Okay, Rick is asking, what if you have 1 year gap? Will you be able to get in the product? Of course you can. Why should you not? If you are getting a very good referral from an employee, there is a good chance you can. But then, of course, the life won't be easy. You have to try a lot. Akash is saying you need to be freaking good at math and statistics. Yes, of course. If you are into data analytics, you need to be good at analysis, right? So you need to know math, you need to know statistics and those kind of stuff. Akash is saying I joined and sorry, too many pings coming. For fresher, another way to go is to go for MTech in some IIT and then Satbir, that is funny because the amount of effort and the money that you'll invest to get into MTech would be the same effort that you would invest to get into a product-based company. So if you want to start early and start earning money, it's better to go for interview preparation rather than going for MTech preparation. But then it's your personal choice. Okay, Paras is asking, my referrals are not getting selected in product-based company. Okay, I'll cover that topic in below. Just wait for it. Akash is saying, good morning. Please give me some detailed learning plan on how to learn DSA. I'll cover that. Don't worry about it. What else? What is the role of a product engineer? Product engineer? What is a product engineer? There's a product manager and there's a software engineer. Okay, do you mean an engineer who is working on a product? It's the same thing for any engineer, right? So you're just doing coding and stuff. Okay, Rehan is asking, what about startups which are product based? Yeah, so shouldn't be any different from an established product based company. The difference is in terms of funding, right? So if you're a startup and you don't have funding, then it affects everything inside the company. For example, there'll be lack of resources, lack of developers. So you as an individual developer will end up working more It's like one guy is working for two, three guys. But in terms of experience, it will be really rich experience. So if you're a bachelor, it's much easier to work for a startup and learn in 2 years what you would learn in a product company, an established product company in 4 years. Endless. Akash is saying he left because of endless calculus, linear algebra, probability, statistics. Okay, I love those things. Um, okay, it may not work for everybody. Pooja is saying, please tell me about embedded developer. Okay, I'm not very much aware about embedded development. So what happens is languages like C, C++ were much in demand 20 years ago for everything end to end, front end, back end, building, web server, everything was done in those languages. But now that you have more refined languages now, C++ and these kind of languages are also used for doing embedded technologies. You have heard about IoT, right? Internet of Things. So what happens is people do development in C++. I'm not just saying C++ was the only language, but people do development in C++ because it's very fast and they embed or burn those code into the chip and that goes into your IoT device. Um, that's oversimplifying, but yeah, that's how it works. Okay, I'll move on to the next point because most of the questions that I'm getting in the comment is something that I'm going to cover next. Okay, what things to learn for product-based company selection? Okay, so the basic stuff that you need to know, first of all, is any programming language of your choice. So the most frequent question that I get asked is, what language should I pick if I don't know any language? So my answer to that is, if you don't know any language, you take any language and it doesn't matter. Whether it is Java, whether it is Python, whether it is JavaScript, whether it is C++, it doesn't matter. Of course, the harsh reality is that when you're applying for a product-based company, you will end up working for the language that they use in their company. You don't have a choice there. So you may end up working in a language that you never learned before. But in terms of interview process, don't worry about it. Most often than not, because in my personal experience, I've seen if you have learned algorithm and data structure in C++ and the company works in Java, they will not stop you from the interview. They can go ahead and ask you to write that code in pseudocode. You know what is pseudocode, right? It's language agnostic. You're not writing the code on the whiteboard in any particular language, but it's universal. If anybody can understand. But after you qualify and you get inside the company, you will still have to learn their language. So you may have practiced coding in C++ and the company works in Java. Your interview goes on in pseudocode, which is neither C++ nor Java. It's normal English language. And once you qualify, then you learn Java in their company and then you work for them. That's how it goes. Okay. All right. So it doesn't matter. Language doesn't matter. You pick any language and you work on it. It just works. Next, how do you learn any language? So what happens is, if you have to prepare for a product-based company, you need to be really good in algorithm and data structure. And for doing coding in algorithm and data structure, you need to know basic syntaxes of programming language. You don't need to learn the paradigms of those programming languages altogether. For example, Java is an object-oriented programming language. You need not learn object-oriented programming language in order to code for this algorithm and data structure. So you just need to know basic syntax that you can cover from any internet site, right? But you can always buy a book or buy a Udemy paid course. I love Udemy because it's very cheap. In 400 rupees, you can get the best course available on the internet on udemy.com. So yeah, my personal preference is if I'm learning a new technology or a new language, I will learn it from a book or Udemy paid course. You can also always go and learn it in coaching center, but I don't have time for that. Okay. So that was learning programming language. Next point is learning algorithm and data structure. This is essential. There is no escaping it. You need to learn algorithm and data structure. You must go on with that. I'll cover that in detail in the next section. And third point is learning framework and library. So these days, what happens is, although it's very prevalent in service-based company, but there are lots of product-based company who stress upon you knowing framework and libraries more than algorithm and data structure. Although in the interview, it is more important to qualify. And to qualify an interview, you need to know algorithm and data structure. But then the reality is that once you get inside the company, you may or may not work on algorithms so much in your day-to-day life. You may mostly be working on some frameworks and third-party libraries, open source libraries or not. For example, React, Flutter, Angular, and these kind of UI technologies. These are basically frameworks and libraries provided to you free, right? So when you get inside the company, you may be working on these frameworks rather than you will be working on algorithm and data structure. Um, so in these tech companies, we mostly use languages to build something, right? If you need to learn any new technology, framework, or library, you need to learn them in order to build that. They're vast ocean of frameworks and libraries available for you to learn. For example, these days in Java, we use Spring Boot as the application server. It's a bootstrap technology in Java that Spring Boot, and you use it, and within 1 hour you are ready with your basic setup. Then you only focus on your code and don't worry about backend stuff. Node.js uses Fastify these days. Express, Python has Django. Then you need to know these messaging queues like Kafka, RabbitMQ. Then for logging frameworks, we use Winston, Morgan in Node.js. I have used that personally. And Lucene for search, Redis, Memcache. It's endless. You see this, right? So don't worry about it. You need not know everything in the start before applying for interview, but it's good to know few technologies, few frameworks and libraries apart from learning algorithm and data structure. It helps you. Okay, so now I will focus on the most important part of this session, which is how to prepare for algorithm and data structure, and something about building side projects also. All right. Um, okay, so preparing for data structure. So there are three aspects very critical in interview. What happens is in the interview. So these days, so I also take interviews, right? So I focus on algorithm, data structure, and system design related questions. Design related questions are mostly focused on senior engineers. If you are a fresher or junior, don't worry about system design related aspect to it, the interview. Focus mostly on the algorithm and data structure. All right, so I'll cover that. The second aspect that you need to learn or be prepared with for a product-based company interview is you need to build side projects, man. I see a lot of people who ping me and say, "Tell me about algorithm and data structure," but nobody asks me about side projects. Nobody asks me about the technologies that will get used when they join that company. So what happens is, say you have prepared algorithm and data structure, you qualified for the round, but there is another candidate who is also qualified for that round. He has successfully cleared. So if I have to choose between those two guys, I'll choose the guy who has more experience in the technology, who has more experience in the either in the domain, functional domain such as e-commerce or whatnot, or he should be very well with any of the frameworks, right? So what I do is then I ask him, what kind of projects have you worked on? What kind of side projects have you built? Tell me about the technology that you are doing. And this is just a filtering criteria. Why? Because I have two candidates and both are equally good in algorithm and structure. So I need to just pick one guy, right? So you need to build side projects. It's very important. I don't see people focusing on that. Okay, I'll cover both topics. the algorithm and data structure as well as side project part. And the third part that you need to know during interview is your English communication skill. It's very important. I don't see people stressing on that, but it's very important. See, we are humans, right? If I'm interviewing you and you are not able to even speak in English inside the interview or convey what you're thinking in your head very well, then how would I know how good you are? So you need to be good in English communication skill. Um, Now, what is the easiest way to do that? Uh, okay, it's funny, but the easiest way is just change your lunch partner to a guy who doesn't speak your native language. This is very important. So what happened? It is from my personal experience. What happened was in my previous company, I was going to lunch with a guy who did not speak English or my mother tongue. So we always communicated in English. And in the starting, he was not very good in English speaking because that was the only language we can communicate with each other. But I noticed over 3 to 4 months of regularly going to lunch together, he picked up English very well. And that actually helped him. And the good part is he's not spending any extra hour just to learn English, right? Just to improve his communication skill. It just happened. We speaking during lunch and he just picked up. Also, you can watch English movies or web series in English language. That helps. I'm just giving you ideas where you don't have to put any extra effort. Sorry, man, it's too hot here and the fan is not working. I'm sweating hard. Okay, there is okay. This is very important for you guys to know. If you are trying to prepare for algorithm data structure or you're building any side projects, uh, hang on, a moment. Okay, I was saying that it's very important that if you're working on those two things, which is preparing for algorithm data structure and building side projects, it's very, very critical that it should be time bound manner with personal deadlines because I'm also guilty to this. What happened was initially when I was preparing for algorithm and data structure, I did not keep any personal deadline. I did not work in a time bound manner. My goal was to just prepare for algorithm data structure, and I ended up spending a couple of months, and I saw I was going nowhere, and I got bored and it was getting difficult. So I left it. I quit, and after 1 year, I again picked it up, and I again quit after 2 3 months because there was no deadline. It was open ended, so I could learn all the time and never finish it. How would you know you're done, right? So it needs to have a deadline. It needs to be in time bound fashion, both for preparing for algorithm data structure and also building side projects. Because both of these are important for qualifying for interview. Keep that in mind. You need to have a deadline for both of these things. If you don't, then you'll end up forever and then it will become boring and you will quit because I have quit 2 times. And third time when I had a deadline, it worked for me. I worked for about 4 months. I created a couple of side projects to build my skill on the technologies, libraries and frameworks. And I also prepared for algorithm data structure. And it just worked. It will work for you too. Um, all right. So what happens is, how do you go about these two topics, which is building side projects and preparing algorithm data structure? What happens is, for an average product company, when I say average product company, you can actually Google on Glassdoor.com or something like that. You can find the reviews about the company, the size of the company, and the product they work on. for those kind of average product companies, the interview, you need to spend about 2 months for DS and Algo, and maybe about 2 side projects if you build and put it on GitHub. Your GitHub account should be good enough, because the thing is, because there is a reason they are average product companies, right? They don't focus too much on the quality of engineers they are hiring. So it is much easier for you to get inside those companies by preparing just for about 2 months of basic algorithm and data structure, and building about 2 side projects, I would say. These numbers are representational, by the way. When I say 2 months and 2 side projects, it's my analysis. It may be different for you, but you will get the idea. Okay. Then you have then there are other good product companies, like the company I'm working for right now. The interview process, generally the preparation process should be about 4 months, because that's the time I took. Um, Algorithm, data structure, and about 3 to 4 side projects on your GitHub should be good enough. But then there is the tier one FANG companies, as they call it: Google, Amazon, Facebook, Uber, Netflix, you name it. For them, you need to prepare 6+ months of algorithm data structure, and at least 6 side projects on your GitHub should be good. Again, these are representational numbers. These are my analysis, may be different for you, okay, based on your aptitude. All right. Um, Now, how do you prepare? So I gave you a rough number in terms of the amount of effort in months. That should help you to get started, but don't stick to that number. It's your call, because it's your life. Um, okay, now, so what do you do to learn data structure and algorithm? What I did was, I'll tell you what I did. So there are 2 aspects to algorithm and data structure. One is knowing the topic well, and second is solving enough problems. Okay, so first part is learning the topic well. So in order to learn the basics of algorithm and data structure, I learned it from Geeks for Geeks. In my mind, that's the best website to learn the concept of algorithm and data structure. And they don't teach you the concepts with a blog, right? They give problems, and they give the solution also. So the moment that as you keep on going through those problems, by after solving 10 to 20 problems, you would have already learned the concept really, really well. Okay. So you can go to Geeks for Geeks website, go to their tutorials section. Inside tutorials, you will find algorithm as a separate tab, and data structure as a separate tab. And I'll quickly name few of the very important data structure topics that you must know in order to qualify for good product-based companies. Arrays, linked list, stack, queues, binary tree, binary search tree, heap, hash tables, string, and graph. You need to know these basic data structure topics in order to appear or qualify for good product-based companies. There is no sideline. There is no shortcut. You need to know these topics for data structure. Again, when it comes to algorithm, then these are the topics in my mind which are very crucial. The most important thing about preparing for algorithm part is the asymptotic analysis. So this may be a new term for you. What happens is, when you solve a given problem, you need to know the runtime or the space complexity. It's confusing. Let me explain in layman terms. Um, we have to evaluate the performance of our algorithm in terms of the size of the input that comes to it. So, for example, you wrote a code program, and there is an array of integers that come as an input. If the size of the array is only five elements inside the array, and your algorithm just works and gives the output, it's good enough. But what if the size of the array or the array list is 1 million records? Will your algorithm still scale and give the output? Will it crash? Will your algorithm just not work? Or will it take minutes to return the response, right? So you get the idea what I'm saying. You need to evaluate the performance of your algorithm in terms of the input size. That is the asymptotic analysis. We don't measure the actual runtime. It's not important. Actual runtime was never important. But as you keep increasing the size of your input, is your algorithm able to scale and serve the need? Then that is how you analyze your algorithm. This is called the asymptotic analysis. There are two kinds. One is the space complexity, one is the time complexity. So you need to learn how to calculate the space complexity and the time complexity of your algorithm, and it will be asked in the interview. So you need to know to calculate the space complexity and the time complexity of your algorithm. There is no shortcut. You need to know these two things. So that was the first topic in algorithm. Other very important paradigms of algorithm or the topics of algorithms are search algorithm, searching, sorting. You already know sorting, right? Then you have randomized algorithms. You need to know a little bit about them because randomized algorithms actually help you to give a very better complexities as compared to any other, I mean, a lesser one. So you need to know randomized. Then general recursion. Recursion everybody knows, right? Then there is something new. It's called backtracking. And an advanced form of backtracking, you have the branch and bound. Then other topics of algorithms are divide and conquer. You should have heard about it. Greedy. Greedy is also a very good algorithm paradigm. And the most difficult and challenging one in my mind is the dynamic programming. So these are the topics that you need to learn. Although I'm not saying you need to be good at all of these, but you need to know all of these. Okay. And when do you know you have to stop? Okay. So that's very important, right? You started, for example, divide and conquer. When would you know you are done? When should you stop that and move to the next topic, right? That's very important. So what I'll tell you is you go to Geeks for Geeks, you go to the tutorial section. Say you picked up inside tutorial section, you picked up algorithm tab, or if not algorithm, then data structure tab. Say inside data structure, you picked up binary search tree or maybe linked list. It doesn't matter. Now you started, right? You are on Geeks for Geeks because you want to learn the basic concepts. So what do? You spend first 3 months. So I'm saying this because I am assuming you're preparing for a good product-based company. You're not preparing for average product-based. You can change the data, but I'm going with a number. So let's say you're preparing for a very good product-based company and you have 6 months in your hand. Okay. So how would you prepare? So what do? You break your preparation into two parts. Part one is 3 months. In this time, you are learning the basic concepts of algorithm and data structure. You can use Geeks for Geeks. There are other two books which I will highly recommend you buy. One is called Elements of Programming Interview. Adnan Aziz is the writer, and other is Cracking the Code Interview. Okay, so these are the two books that you can also purchase. Very good, very well written books. If you buy them and you learn the topics from them, it will be good. But to get started, you can always go to Geeks for Geeks because I find it really well. Okay, so let's say you went to Geeks for Geeks, and first 3 months is the time you completely dedicate for learning the basic concepts. You pick up 20 easy problem for say linked list, or say instead of linked list you have heap. Heap is very important. In Java we call it priority queue. So you pick up a heap as a topic and you start solving 20 easy questions on Geeks for Geeks. Then you solve 20 medium question on Geeks for Geeks. Then you solve 20 difficult problems on Geeks for Geeks. Easy, medium, and hard. The answers are already given on Geeks for Geeks, so you don't have to go and search elsewhere in case you're not able to solve them. And the time you are done with these 20 easy, 20 medium, and 20 hard, you would have already learned the basic concept of that particular topic. So then you move on to the next topic and next topic and next topic. But you don't forget that you only have 3 months to do this 20 easy, 20 medium, 20 difficult for each and every topic, right? So think about it. How many topics you need to cover? For data structure, you need to know array, linked list, tag, queue, binary tree, binary search tree, hash table, string, graph, right? These were the topics that I said. For algorithm, you need to know searching, sorting, randomize, general recursion, backtracking, branch and bound, divide and conquer, greedy algorithm, dynamic programming, right? So if you club all of these together, you have about 15 to 20 topics. And for each topic, you are spending 20 easy, 20 medium, and 20 hard problems on Geeks for Geeks, right? And you should be done in 3 months, given that you're giving around 3 hours every day. If you are giving more than three, totally cool, but three is a good number, 3 hours every day minimum, given that you are already working somewhere else. Guys, looks like we have gone beyond 11 o'clock. Do you guys want to continue or we will do it later? If you guys comment saying that it's okay to continue for next half an hour, I'll go on. Otherwise, we'll break it today and do it later on. Please comment. Okay, so Aishwarya, Saurabh, Deepak, Satbir, Rihan, Vibhor, Akash, Kinjal, Pankaj, they all are saying continue. Okay, all right, then I'll continue for next half an hour or less. Let's see. Because these are important topics, I don't want to break in between and then take another session, right? So let's finish this and then we'll move on. All right. Where was I? Okay, so I was saying that if you club all these algorithm and data structure topics, you have about 15 to 20 most important topics, and you solve 20 easy, 20 medium, and 20 hard problems for each of them on either Geeks for Geeks or the other two books that I recommended, right? Elements of Programming Interview and Cracking the Coding Interview. So take your pick, solve them. But as I said, you need to have deadline. In my mind, I'm assuming you have 6 months of time period to prepare for a very good product-based company. So you divide 6 into 2 parts. First 3 months should only be dedicated for this exercise, which is clearing your basic concepts. Let's say you're done with 3 months and you're assuming that I'm assuming you're also done with the basic concepts for these 20 topics that I mentioned. Then comes the next part, which is the next 3 months. What do you do in the next 3 months? So the next 3 months, because you're already done with the basic awareness of how these topics work, these algorithms work, you start solving questions on coding competition websites. Where do you go? In my mind, leadcode.com and hackerrank.com are good enough, very easy to use. You just go to them, log in, and start solving problem. There is no question asked. There is no hassle. It's very simple. For example, I didn't use HackerRank that much. I used LeetCode very well because I was preparing for Amazon interview at that time. Although I didn't qualify for Amazon, but the questions and the quality of questions that are available on LeetCode.com were really really good. And again, what they do is, so let's say you go to leadcode.com and okay, so Deepak is saying LeetCode is premium worthy to buy. So what happens is in LeetCode, you have free version and premium version. Free version is complete. You don't need to buy premium to prepare. Only problem is they don't give you solutions for the problems, for all the problems. If you want solutions for all the problems, then you need to buy premium. But Indian mentality, right? We don't want to spend so much money, right? So even I didn't buy the premium. So what happens is 90% of the time, if you Google that problem on internet, you will find the solution. So you may not need to buy LeetCode Premium package. So the solution may not be available in the free version for all the questions, and also they won't tell you company specific problems on LeetCode. So what happens is you you go to a question on LeetCode and you start solving it, and then in your mind you'll be like, this seems very hard. Why should I even solve it? Then if you have a premium version, it will say this question was asked in Amazon. Then you're like, oh, I'm preparing for Amazon, so I better solve this, right? But if you don't have premium, you won't know which company was it even asked in any top companies or not. So, but that's the only benefit of premium. It tells you which company it was asked, and you get the solution for almost all the questions. But I didn't buy the premium package, so it's your call. Okay, so Code Forces is also good. Although I didn't use it, I find the interface a little complex. It's not so clean like LeetCode and HackerRank, so I didn't use Code Forces, but that is also good. Code Forces. Yeah, an interview. But the number of questions on interview bit Rehan are not so many as compared to LeetCode. So just pick one, man. It doesn't matter. I would say just go for HackerRank or LeetCode. Again, it's your choice after all. Okay, so what do you do for the next 3 months? You have to solve at least 400 problems on these coding competition. You need to solve at least 400 questions on these coding competition website, HackerRank or LeetCode. If you don't, then it's okay. But the problem is you won't have covered the breadth of the topics. You understand what I'm saying? So I just mentioned 20 important topics, right? If you're just solving 200, you might have only covered 10 out of those 200. But if you solve 400, then you would have essentially covered almost all the important topics. That's gold. And that's really good. If you could solve 400 questions on this coding competition website, and it will essentially take you about 3 months. I have done this. I know this. It takes 3 months if you're giving about 3 hours. If you are lucky and you have more than 3 hours, like 5 hours or something, go ahead, do that. But yeah, you'll get bored. You need to be superhuman to give 5 hours of coding every day after office. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, so that's how you break your 6 months of study time. Another thing very important is when you're solving on LeetCode or HackerRank, the solution that you are working on should be time based again. So don't spend more than 30 minutes of thinking because you also need to write the code. I understand that when you are new to solving these questions, it will take about 1 hour or even more. But don't spend more than 30 minutes just thinking. And in essence, if you're taking more than 1 hour to solve a question, then don't get egoistic that no, I can solve it. I'll take 1 more hour. Don't do that. You better go and find the solution on the internet. If it is already available on LeetCode or HackerRank, go ahead and get the solution from there. If it is not available there, go and search it on Google. But don't spend more than 1 hour solving or writing the code for one problem because you're working in time bound manner. You realize this, right? I'm being realistic. You can take 5 hours and solve one problem, but then you won't be able to finish your interview preparation in 3 months. I hope that makes sense to few of you guys and you will agree. And of course, even if these websites don't give you the solution, there's always a discussion forum in the same website against the same question. You can always go to that tab called discussion. In that discussion forum, there would be 100 other people like you who would have posted their solution in their programming language. So you can always read their solution, right? If you take 1 hour not able to solve it, you don't find a solution on internet, you don't find a solution on that website, go to discussion forum, read the solutions of other people, take hints from them. Some people have also posted their time complexity and space complexity. You would know about them more, right? So discussion forums are very good. You need to take use of it. It's free. Okay, and the last point about the preparation is, for every problem you solve, you need to write down somewhere the time and space complexity of the algorithm you just wrote, because you just cannot write the solution and forget about the time and space. It's equally important for you. And to ensure that you take care of edge cases, null checks, and those smaller details that you may not think is important will actually become very important once you interview. So I'm actually thinking, apart from the DevOps and microservices related, one more session that I'm thinking I'll do sometime later. I will also take another separate session. I'm thinking just to have more details, baked details on how to have the preparation details that you need for algorithm and data structure, and the kind of, I won't actually touch base on the questions that they ask, because there's breadth of knowledge on internet for what kind of questions they ask. But why do people actually fail in product based company interviews? So those those are because I take interviews, right? So I know why I would have to reject a candidate. So I can share those details with you, but it's very lengthy session. I can't do that right now. So I'll take a session separately about that, meaning why candidates get rejected in a technical interview. Okay. 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 So with this, I think I have sufficiently covered the basic knowledge you need to know in order to start preparation for algorithm and data structure. Okay. Now I'll move on. If you guys have any question relating to preparation for algorithm and data structure, you can ask me now, because I'm moving to the next topic, which is building side projects to learn the frameworks and other topics. One guys, ask me question. Deepak is asking how to stay motivated to learn algorithm and data section. Okay, I have that. I have some points to that. If I am able to finish the next two important topics in next 15 minutes, I'll cover that topic. Otherwise, I'll take it later in a separate session, because this session is already 1.5 hours long. Abdullah is asking, am I late? Yes, you are late. We started at 10 a.m. But I think YouTube saves this link, right? So if you open this link after the live session is over, you should be able to watch this video even then. Um, how many companies are focused on questions about Java multi-threading rather than data set? So Rehan, it's very subjective, right? There are product-based companies which focus completely on algorithm and data structure for junior hires, and there are other product-based companies which focus completely on Java or programming languages, or only the frameworks that they are using. It's very subjective. So my session will cover both of those topics. So it's totally your luck. You can't predict before going into the interview. Although you can go to glassdoor.com, and maybe if you're lucky and the company that you're going to interview for, somebody would have posted some link, some review about that company, what kind of questions they ask. So it's totally luck, but you should prepare for both. So for Java multi-threading and all the focused questions regarding those things, the frameworks, you need to build the side projects. And for DSA, you need to learn the algorithm and data structure, which I have already covered. Okay. Akash is asking, there are n numbers of algorithm. Do we need to memorize them? Okay, so using the term memorize is wrong here. How it works is anything that you learn new, you will forget it unless you use it. But what I'm saying is, if you're working on solving problems for 6 months, you don't need to memorize them, right? It will come naturally to you after 6 months, right? Think about it. Any new thing that you ever learn, if you don't use it, you'll forget it, right? But if we are using every day 3 hours for 6 months, there is no need to memorize. It will get inbuilt into you. Okay. Um, what is Ann asking? Okay, for Amazon, it's DSA. Yes, completely. Amazon, it's complete DSA. They don't ask Java multi-threading and those. It's complete. Abdullah is asking, how much priority should we give to learning frameworks and building projects versus complete? Okay, so the ratio I would say is 50-50 okay, so it's like this. If you're interviewing for a very good product-based company, the hiring criteria completely depends on DSA. You need to know DSA first, because if you don't, you will not qualify for the next round. Next round won't happen if you don't know DSA. But once you qualify for the next round, let's say you're doing a system design round, which is only applicable for senior employees, not for a fresher probably, then they will ask you to build some components. And there may be a crazy guy who may ask you in the interview about the framework related stuff. This is especially true for UI developer hires. They ask you framework related questions also, like React Native or React or Vue.js or whatever UI stuff that you have built side projects on or worked on. You need to know them, right? And it's always good to learn these technologies by building side projects. If you don't, it doesn't hurt completely, but it depends on the product-based company you are interviewing. It's luck, actually. For example, the top tier FANG companies, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Uber, and stuff like that, you can live with only knowing the data structure algorithm alone, and it will suffice. But if you are interviewing for lesser tier product based companies, they may also ask you the frameworks and libraries and programming language. It's a mix and it's luck. That's why I'm covering both the topics here. Rohit is asking, how is Learn by Academy in Bangalore? I have no idea about this academy, dude. I have never done any offline or online coaching like this. No idea. These days, I am seeing this coaching places where they they don't take money upfront and they say once you are hired, you pay us some portion of your salary. Uh, do any of you guys are doing that? Let me know in comments. I have no idea about that. Hitesh is asking, I'm confused about time and space complexity. You know, any good website or blog? So you can go to Codeforces or Topcoder blog. They have very good blogs about asymptotic analysis. Also, Geek for Geeks has a little bit about that. You can do that. But once you know the basic, it totally depends on the algorithm that you're working on, Hitesh. Once you solve an algorithm, you need to calculate the space and time complexity. Most often than not, what happens is uh, you don't know the solution, so you look that solution up on internet. The guy who has solved that question will also tell you the space and time complexity. So after solving multiple questions, you will start seeing the pattern, and then it will come back to you. Oh, so this is how it works. So the best practice is keep solving more problems. You will get used to calculating the space and time complexity. Okay, Deepak is saying Scalar Academy. Okay, heard about Interview Bit and Scalar Academy, Pesto Scalar Academy. Okay, I'm currently attending a boot camp. Okay, that's good for you, Akash. I personally don't know anybody who, in my personal circle, who is doing boot camp like these. I, I, if you can tell me how good it is, and do you actually get interview calls after doing them, it will be good so I can share them with everybody. Okay, I'll move on to the next topic, guys. And it's getting late. It's 1.5 hours. I thought I'll finish it up in 1 hour. Can you believe it? And you guys have a lot of patience. Okay, at least there are 30 people online. That's very well. Okay, next topic, building side projects. Okay, so what you need to do is you pick any programming language of your choice, Java, be it Python, JavaScript, doesn't matter. These are the three most popular programming languages, so I just named them here. Once you pick your programming language of choice, then you need to pick side projects. But you have to ensure that your side project is so small that as a beginner also you should be able to finish the side project in 2 weeks max. Um, I can give you two examples of side projects. Let's say you're building a chat application, okay, which should be a server client server application, so that at least two people or maybe more than two people can chat with each other on that. And it will be good if you can add a Facebook login in that same chat application. Okay, so that's one example of a side project. Think about it. If you could build that chat application, there's so many things about programming that you would have learned just by building this chat application with Facebook login embedded in it. Okay, another example is you can build a LinkedIn scraper using maybe Python or Selenium in Java or anything, which will be able to collect data and or you build a LinkedIn scraper which should be able to send friend requests to anybody. Okay, how about that? I actually saw on YouTube a guy who had posted a 10 minutes video about he building a Python based Selenium automation tool which helped him to do Tinder swiping and get girlfriends. Think about it. So these are the side projects. Now you'll say you just named three, but what are the others? So I just put this term on Google. I just typed side project ideas in Java. I just typed that and I got so many ideas, so many links. I actually have pasted two links in this same video description section below. So if you go to description section, you'll find two links that I have posted. But that's not the end of the world. You can always Google yourself. Um, so if you go to those links, you'll find more than 100 side project ideas. You can fine tune those ideas and make it as small so that it fits into 2 weeks of time period. Again, I'm ensuring to use the keyword time bound, deadline based work, because if you don't do that in time bound or deadline based manner, you'll end up building that side project forever and it will never go and see the end of the day. It will never be uploaded on your GitHub, because the goal is once you build the side project, you have to upload it on your GitHub profile and put the GitHub profile link into your resume. A lot of people don't do that. Don't do that. Don't miss this. It's very important. Your GitHub profile URL should be in your resume. People who are interviewing you need to know what side projects you have built. It's very important because that gives an edge to you over the other guy who is only working on DSA, data structure. Okay. Uh, Anything else about the side project? Okay, another thing about side project is if you are building it and you are working in time-based manner, 2 week cycle, uh, there are two parts to it. There's a source code that you have written in your laptop, which goes on the GitHub. And the second part is, say if it is a UI-based tool you're building, for example, that chat application, which I just mentioned with the Facebook login, you also need to build UI, right? So once it's done, you can upload that working code on cloud. So the free cloud I use is Heroku app. Heroku app. Once you go to Heroku app, you create account there. You can upload your code there and start the server. Instead of starting in on your local machine, you start the server over there on the Heroku app. It's free, right? And then share that link with any of your friends and say, hey, go to this link and you can chat with me. It will be cool. Also, you can put that Heroku app link on your resume. It will give you an edge. Okay. There are various other cloud solutions where you can upload your code. Upload your running code server. Heroku is just one example. Okay. Again, the side project ideas, I have pasted 2 links in the description below. You can check them later. And don't forget to mention your GitHub profile link in your resume. It's very, very important. Okay, that brings me to the last most important topic, which is how to get interview calls. Guys, I had 3 more important topics to cover. One of them is how to build perfect resume to be selected for interview. Next topic was how to form the discipline in order to not get bored and give up on your preparation. And third, and one of them was the salary negotiation part and those things, but looks like we don't have enough time. So I'll not be able to cover those topics right now. Let me know if those topics are important for you. I can take up a separate session. But right now I'm going with the last topic of the day, which is how to get interview calls and how to get job referral. Okay. I think this is very important because a lot of people have pinged me on LinkedIn asking how to get interview calls. I have prepared so well for data structure, but I'm not getting interview calls. Some people have said, I pinged people on LinkedIn asking for job referral, but they didn't refer me. What should I do? Things like this. Okay. So I thought it will be important to cover this topic in the end because it's very important, right? Um, all right, so let's go with this last topic. Fine. So, how to get interview calls? There are 3 most easy. Actually, there are only 2 important ways. I don't prefer the first way. I prefer the second way, but I'll still mention the 2. First way is the most generic way. You go to any generic job portal and start searching for the job on them and apply through them. Or you can go to the company of your choice, any product based company. Let's say you selected Flipkart. Go to Flipkart's job portal and apply from there. Or you apply on Naukri.com, for example, right? Or Stack Overflow. So Stack Overflow jobs are also very good. So you can go to them. But I don't prefer these medium because they yield very less response. You can post in the comment section if you ever posted for a job on any of these job portal or you directly went to company website and you got a call. Very rare, right? These days. So what happens is they have a queue. The HR, the recruiters have a queue. And every day there are so many people who keep posting for jobs on their portal or through Naukri.com or stuff like that. It keeps adding up in their queue. HRs don't have time to look into each and every resume that you post in their queue, right? So what do? They discard your resume. They don't look at your resume at all. So it just doesn't work. You need to be lucky. Or what you can do is you can pay money to some recruitment firm and they will refer you to the HR directly and then you'll get a call. That's also possible. Try your luck. I don't try them. Okay, so what's the second and more effective way? This is important and take a note of it. Use LinkedIn job referral. Okay, how does this work? Okay, so these are the steps that I do. I have done this. It has worked. I have suggested these to my few friends, and it has worked for them. What do you need to do? I'll put this in step by step. Step 1, list down, let's say, top 50 or top 20 product-based companies in your city on using Google or Glassdoor website. Once you have listed down those top 50 or top 20 product-based companies, step two is go to LinkedIn search page, and in the search criteria, search filter, you should put this. Put the company name as whatever product company you have selected in the step one. Put the job title as product manager or software engineer. Okay, put these job titles in the search criteria and put the city as your city. Okay, once you have these three filters, hit enter, you'll get the search result. Go to people, meaning in the search result, go to people. You'll find all these people who have their job titles as software engineers or product managers. Now, step three is you have to send friend requests to those people because these are the guys who will give you referral in their company, right? Be nice to them. So, what do you do for referral? You send friend requests to these people, but always add note while sending connection request. So LinkedIn has a note feature. I know nobody uses that note feature, but what happens is when you're sending a connection request on LinkedIn, and if you type a personalized note, it's more there are more chances that the personal person, even if he's busy, will accept your connection request. Okay, be nice to them because they are going to help you to get referral, right? Add, put an extra step, write that note, personalized note, send the friend request, connection request, and done. Okay, so that's just three steps. There are three more steps. Okay, so before that, what can be an example of a good note, personalized note? Do a little bit of research on the guy you're sending friend request to. You just simply need to go to that guy's LinkedIn profile page, look at how many years he's working in that current company or how many total number of years of experience he has, or he might have also mentioned what kind of technologies he's working on. That's it. You just need to know this. So you go to the personalized note section and just type, "Hi, so and so. I went across your profile and I found it really interesting. I see that you have worked on this technology or you are working on this company for many years, and I felt you may be able to guide me to a better job prospect because I'm currently in need of guidance." Never say I'm in need of a referral. Always say I'm in need of guidance because people are always ready to guide you, but very few people will refer you unless you are his friend or her friend, right? So you have to develop friendship with that person. Okay, maybe it will sound overbearing to you, and you will be thinking, "Hey, looks like I'm spending months just to make friends with a guy on LinkedIn. Why should I do that?" But this should be again time bound manner. Don't spend more than 7 days on a guy chatting with that guy. Okay. So step one was search on LinkedIn for these guys, send them a personalized note, send the connection request. The next step is um, once the once the connection request is gone, if you're lucky, that guy will accept your invitation. Never ask for a referral directly in the first chat. Okay, to this software engineer guy or the product manager guy that you just ping. Never ask for referral directly in the first chat. Okay, you have to chat with them for about a week, regularly asking for improvement guidance. It's very important. If you ask for improvement guidance, that guy is more likely to develop a sort of a friendship with you. You have to take feedback on how to improve your coding skills, how to improve your general skills. Try to develop a rapport with that guy. Again, don't spend more than 7 days on any guy. Okay, you can send 20 requests in a day. Spend next 7 days trying to befriend that guy, asking guidance on these things, improvement guidance, and then after 7 days, you have to finally ask him for referral. You have to chat with him and say, "Hey, now that you have given me so much of guidance, I'm trying to implement that, and I'm seeing results. Is it possible that you refer me in your company?" Now, here's very important, critical aspect to it. Never ask for general job referral. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Yesterday night, some person pinged me saying that I'm looking for a job. Can you check if you have any job opening in your company? If yes, Please refer me to your company. Here's my PDF file resume attached in this chat. Okay. Strict no, no. Never do that. What you're doing in essence is you're putting the burden on that guy. Okay. Do some research. Go to Google, go to that company's job site, search for your relevant job opening. These companies will have a job site, right? Job portal. You'll get a job ID or some URL. Take that job ID, take that job URL on the internet, come back to this LinkedIn chat, and then after 1 week of chatting, say that I found this relevant job opening in your company. Can you refer me for this particular job opening? And if this job opening is already closed, in that case, can you check if there is any other relevant job opening? It will be very helpful. Okay, go with these steps. These are tried and tested steps. They work, and there are more than 50% chance that you may convert into an actual job referral by these guys. Okay, um, that is it's a neat way. It takes a little bit of extra effort from you, but then without effort, you don't get any rewards, right? So you have to put that effort. It's very important. Um, Okay, so I think I'm done with the topics that I had for today. I had a couple of more topics. For example, how should you prepare your perfect resume that will give you a higher chance of getting interview calls? Other topic was how to form discipline and be persistent so that you keep preparing for algorithm and data structure for long duration without giving up. And how to do salary negotiation in product-based company. And one more topic was what are the trade-offs between good salary, good work culture, and good work environment? Which one should you choose? So these are the topics that I can't cover because I'm almost 2 hours talking. So I'm going to end this session now. If you have any questions relating to LinkedIn referral or any of those topics which I just discussed, you can ask in the question because I'll be ending this session in next 2 minutes. Rehan is saying I prepared 1 page resume, but HR asked me to extend it to 4 pages. Which company was that, Rehan? Okay, Jitendra is saying please do a separate session for these topics: resume building, LinkedIn profile, salary negotiation. Okay, I'll think about it. Hemant is asking how helpful are talent acquisition people. Okay, so in my personal experience, talent acquisition people were really helpful for me because I'm going to this new company, right? I have no idea what the interview process is going to be like and salary related stuff. They were really helpful for me in the product based companies I interviewed. Okay, any more questions, guys? In my mind, Rehan, if you are interviewing for a good product-based company, it should be a one-page resume, but then it is your choice. 4 page resumes, if it comes to me, I am biased not to take a look at beyond second page. So yeah, one-page resume works. Think about it. If 10 people post their resumes to HR, how likely is it that the HR will run through 4 pages for each of them? Okay, by the way, I have posted my own personal resume link in the description below. It's a 1 page resume. Go through it and see if it helps you. Akshay is asking how to be consistent in learning DSA. I said it's a topic I wanted to cover, but it's already 2 hours. I won't be able to cover that today. Thank you, Hemant. Thank you, Naveen. You found my session to be helpful. Let me know if this session was helpful. I can do more of these. I tried to make it very point based, bullet points, so that you can grasp as much as possible. I didn't share any stories. It was very to the point. So I wanted to be more helpful. It just gets to you directly. Let me know if this session was helpful. Also, what you can do is you can click on the like button below on this link so that other people get to know this. Or you can also share this on your LinkedIn maybe, because it's important that these things is known to other people who are also applying for product-based company interviews, right? It will be super helpful for them also. They need to know because I get so many chat messages every day and people ask the same question over and over. So I realize there's so much of gap of knowledge. You are doing your preparation, but you don't know if you're doing the right preparation. You are sending the LinkedIn chat message for referral, but is your approach right? Right? Maybe you can share it on your LinkedIn. It will be reached by so many people. It will be really helpful for them. Also in the comment section, can you guys post if there are any other topics that you want me to cover later on? I can do some research on them and come back to you. I try to cover very important things that matter to you for your preparation right now. If there are things that you think I did not cover and they are important for you, do post a comment here or maybe on my LinkedIn. I will take a look at that. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm ending this live stream. You can continue posting in the LinkedIn message or in the YouTube message below. And in the description, you can find some important links. Take a look at them. Okay. I'm ending this session now. Bye, guys.